Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm great. Jet lagged, fantastic. I look good in the dark.
And you look good in the light too. Just to kick off, is this the first time you've been in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, this is my first time in Saudi. Yeah. Got to spend a lot of time over this direction, filming Hurt Locker, and just right across the way. And but first time in Saudi. I'm very excited to be here.
You're known for your versatility and being such an incredible actor, whether you're playing with bows and arrows or you're playing serial killers. But how did it all begin? When did you first think, I want to be an actor?
It wasn't until college that I figured that there was even a thing. My dad encouraged me to take the courses I need to take, but then go try a bunch of stuff and encouraged me to fail. Just go try stuff. And then acting ended up being one of those courses that I did in college. And then, then it stuck. And then I took theater and psychology as a double major, and then quickly realized that I'm just going to be an actor and go do that thing. So.
You make it sound so easy.
I think everything's easy, honestly. I mean, the challenges, of course, of in life, we always have obstacles and challenges no matter who you are, where you are. How rich you are or poor you are, you still have obstacles, and how you choose to deal with your obstacles, how well you are at overcoming obstacles will then determine how easy in life and happy you are. Pretty simple.
You said, that's really great advice, and you said your dad told you to make mistakes, and you said you have to overcome hurdles and challenges. What's it like to audition?
Well, that's a whole different beast. I don't know. It's a different beast than performing, I think. It's a very technical thing, I suppose. Usually not great environments for people to succeed. So you have to find a way for you to succeed in those limitations of environment. Pages in a story you don't even know what you're doing, or a character you don't know what you're doing, and they're looking for a different dude already when you walk in, it's all that kind of stuff. You got to fight against all this adversity. Auditioning is really kind of the worst way to get a job. And nowadays, I feel like they all do it online kind of thing. Everyone does it on tape or something. Which is a weird thing too, because you lose that sort of nervousness or that kind of energy in a room when you have to perform in front of somebody. If you just do it at home, it's kind of like everybody in Zoom and like they're in their underwear and they're wearing a suit up top. You know what I mean? It's like you're kind of halfway in the game, right? You're not really in it. You got to fully dress up for your Zoom call, right? You got to really perform when you're going to go perform or audition for a show or a job, right? So I'm not sure how people audition nowadays. I'm glad I don't.
You just made me think of all those times I've done a Zoom where I've been wearing underwear. Going, remember not to stand up. I mean, when did you, auditioning is hard, you've decided maybe you want to try and become an actor. When did you think, maybe it could be a job, maybe it could be something I could do for a living?
I probably, after a couple years of doing a ton of theater where I grew up, I'd finished school and I still continued to do a lot of theater. And I know I didn't want to continue schooling because I was definitely very focused on being an actor, but at some point I had to go make it a job and give it an attempt. So I lived in Northern California, and LA was in the South, so I, as a firstborn child and first one to kind of leave the nest, so I went down to LA and on my own to figure out how to make it a real job. So,
what did that involve? Did you do other jobs before?
I went down with a job as a makeup artist for Lancome Cosmetics. Oh, wow. And it was a great gig because I was an artist, and I don't know this whole psychology about makeup and beauty and where it comes from and all that. So it was a great gig because I only had to work like Friday and Saturdays in a week, and then keep my weeks free to go audition. Fun. And figure out life from there, and just kind of keep rolling the dice and trying to see what throw things against the wall, see what sticks.
I need a little bit of foundation on my nose.
I'm sure somebody can help you with that. I'm tired.
Do you think working as a makeup artist did it give you any access in any way? Did it help you get into the business? Was it one of those jobs where we hear people are waiters because they want to get another job?
Yeah, well, I think that's just waiters and bartending. Those are all just easy gigs and night gigs as well. They can get paid okay. People are just trying to survive, right? Actors or struggling artists. But to me, I kept it very separate. Even though there's makeup artists in the industry, I definitely didn't want to be known as a makeup artist in the industry. I came down to LA to be an actor and focus on that. Very driven, very focused, and I didn't want to be seen as anything else. So I kept that very privately quiet.
You mentioned that you first did some theatre work. What was those stage performances, and did you have to act differently on the stage? Did you have to relearn when you wanted to go before camera?
Yeah, there's a big difference between stage and film acting for sure. I started on the stage, so that's what I knew. So going from stage to camera was a bit different. I'd obviously make things smaller and do a lot less. Power of your vocal, all different things are kind of, it's different that way. I love both mediums, but I like the intricacies and the delicacies of film and the little things you can do to tell a whole lot. And
what was your first job?
Oh, let me see. Well, the first play I did was Scarecrow and the Wizard of Oz, and then I did a bunch of plays after that. And the first time on camera I got paid was actually the lead in a National Lampoon Senior Trip movie. And that was a great first gig, because most of the time, we're just doing I'm the guy in the background waving or something. So it was really cool. I went down to LA actually with three very specific goals. And it was to be in a movie, and not a TV show or anything else, or a commercial or nothing. To be in a movie that was big enough, that would be playing in my small town that I grew up in, because Modesto, California, yeah. And we didn't get here, so I didn't get all the movies there. And then to be in a role that was big enough that I didn't have to tell my parents, what role I was in. So, and I got that all in that first job, which is great. But then I had to figure and recalibrate, what do I want to now sort of achieve after that. And I struggled my butt off for the next decade, but at least I was working. I was working as an actor. There's something kind of nice to say about that. Even though I was starving, I was eating like $5 a month. I had no electricity or running water, but at least I was a working actor.
That takes a lot of drive to give up sort of let's call them cosmetic pleasures of life. But giving up electricity and food, that's a whole different thing.
Well, it's not a sacrifice really if you're doing what you love to do. If there's something that I didn't want to do, like with most people's jobs, they don't really want to do it. See, I would do mine for free if I could, but
don't say that.
We live in a capitalist society. We live in a capitalist society, so it doesn't work that way. So yeah, I need a check. But the idea, the drive of how and why, and the fuel behind why I do what I do is always, the sacrifice is easy, because that always comes, there's always a price tag for something that you do want and do need in your life. So giving up, that for a moment, at least I was trying to achieve, I was happy at least trying to achieve what I wanted to do in my life. And knowing that at a very young age was gold. And I knew it. And I was very lucky to have that. And a lot of people still struggle in the 50s trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I was very, very blessed to be focused and be driven and be in love with what I do and still continue to do in my life. It's part of my life. It's like an appendage. My job is not a job. It's just how I live. Like in a carnival. We go town to town, and here I am in Saudi, and we do. It's a moving carnival act, and it's beautiful. It's artistic. It's a shared experience. It's like a dance. It's beautiful. There's we talk and you listen, maybe, and then we're like, there's a band up here. We play music and you dance, or it's a shared experience. If it's a film, then there's an audience to it. Otherwise, it's just images on a screen. There's got to be an audience. It takes two for that to coexist, right? Like a truth and a lie, they have to coexist. Otherwise, neither exist. Otherwise, everything would just be true. So there's such a beauty in that clarity I had to sacrifice not having running water, back to that, or power, or eating on $5 a month. I knew it was temporary. Like couldn't do it for very long, maybe a year and a half it was. But I knew at least my mom was very concerned. I said, "Don't worry, Mom. It's fine because I'm doing what I love to do in my life. Like I'm happy. Like I don't like starving. It sucks, right? It's not great, Yeah, it wasn't great, but it was worth it. But it's worth it in the end, right? It's worth it.
I'm glad that I didn't know anyone had to go on a date with you when you had no running water.
I had no time to date, man. Who was I going to date anyway? I was married to my job, my career. I was very focused, you know.
I'm asking all these questions because in Saudi Arabia, the industry is very new. And all of a sudden, acting is a profession that's possible, especially cinema acting.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know what it means or what it takes to become an actor. And often we see things like maybe you need to go to an acting coach or an acting school. Are they things that you would counsel people to do?
I mean, me personally, I don't know. Probably not. I don't get the time. But I do love the idea of it. I have the capability to. I just don't think I would spend my time doing it. I think there's lots of avenues for people. I mean, to try stuff. I mean, this is a very new industry here. I think it's really, really amazing that it's happening here. It's opened up a lot of wonderful opportunities. I mean, the opportunity for me to come here exists now, right? And now there's cinema here in this country. It's fantastic. I think it's pretty exciting. This is like we're budding at the precipice of like a big shift here. I think there's supposed to be 2,500 screens in the next 5 years by 2030. Like, that's huge, man. That's huge. And if any country can kind of do that, move that fast, move the needle that fast, I think it's Saudi Arabia, man. I'm pretty excited to see what happens here.
We're very excited as well by the possibilities. What's it like? You talked about, it'd be unusual on tape to send your tape in as an audition. You lose some of that connection. What's it like to meet a director when you want them to give you a role?
I'm a different dude, man. I sort of, my attitude's already like, I dare you not to cast me. You know what I mean? It's I'm more like right now, nowadays it's sort of, it's a partner you work with, right? So first question I ask any director is, now it's like, hey, can I have this job? It's like, do I want to do this job with you? So I'm casting this person, this director, or who am I going to be in business with? That's how I look at it. I always kind of have in that way. So, because it is, so I ask like any director, you know, how do you want the audience to feel at the end of the movie? Do you want them, the couple, to walk out of there and argue about the different endings or things? Do you want them to sit there and cry through the credits? Do you want them to sit quiet, alone, and be inward and thoughtful about the ending? Or do you want them to be laughing and skipping out and like, can't wait till the part 2 comes out? All right. How do you want them to feel, you know? It's a really interesting question to ask, because then you get the audience involved, where they're really trying to go with this thing. Well, if they don't know the answer, then I ain't doing that movie. It's just that simple. If you don't know how you want the audience to feel, then what the hell are we doing here? Because it takes a lot of effort. I think everybody knows that does film. It's a huge Herculean effort. A small city comes together to try to tell this narrative. It's a lot of work, and a lot of times it fails. So no one's got the time to fail that much. That's expensive to fail.
Yeah, you wouldn't be. You'd lose your water bill. Water bill. Can you?
I'll be taking this with me.
Yeah. And he's taking it to have a shower, guys. And can you tell me, when you get a script, what are you looking for? What is it that makes you go, this is a character I want to play, or do you think this is a film I want to do?
I haven't read a script in about a decade. But when I did read scripts, I just read one the other day, actually, and it's going to be a movie maybe I do next. I'm not sure. But I look always, it depends. You know, different stages of my life. You know, I'm almost 54. When I was 24, it's very different. What I look for now, that I have an 11-year-old child. You know, there's a lot of opportunities, which is a wonderful place to be. What's really gonna, you know, blow my hair back? I don't know until you kind of read it. There's always something. It's more important, I think, to if it's Taylor Sheridan or Catherine Bigelow or other people I worked with that really kind of inspired me. And then they could direct the phone book, and then, you know, I wouldn't care. Let's go do the phone book. You know, it doesn't matter. It's the narrative. There's only 12 stories in my mind to be told about Greek mythology. It's just basic stories being retold, just kind of in different ways. You know, so I don't know. It depends on It's like a dance. It's like what song plays. Like what's your favorite song? What kind of what it depends. Everybody's got different moods and playlists and different things. And same in cinema. What's going to get me to get up and want to go to work again is going to be the people first and foremost. That the narrative. Rarely does the narrative really just blow my hair back and be like, oh, this is amazing. I got to do this story. Let's find the people to do it. That's pretty rare, for me anyway. I'm more excited about the people to help tell the narrative with. So, and then where it shoots, that's kind of important nowadays, because I'm 54, I don't want to fit me. Hey, I'll shoot on the Red Sea all day long, man. That's great. I did that before.
that, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I did that before. I heard about it. With Aqaba and doing all that, so it's great, man. I enjoyed being on the Red Sea. It's a bit hot. Aqaba is 135 in a 100-pound bomb suit. It's pretty brutal. But not that I'd do that again. Hurt Locker's still hurting. Yeah. No thanks.
Talking about roles that hurt, when you have to get into the mind, such as you did in Daimler in 2000, early 2002, it came out. What was it like to try and get into the mind of a serial killer? It's interesting because there was a book written by his father in retrospective of what he had missed, what he maybe done wrong, what his part was in it. Looking at it from a non-judgmental, obviously, I didn't know a whole lot about what he had done prior, and that was kind of good. I didn't really try to get too informed, because a lot of judgment can come with that, because he did some really terrible things. So I just went to underneath any information I did know about him, and just understand kind of how and why, where that came from. And it still terrifies me to this day, But it's an interesting sort of venture into chaos and hell for me. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. And then when the film had such a great reception, especially people were talking about you and your performance, how did that make you feel? Well, I mean, that was, my dad wouldn't talk to me. He was like, you freak me out. I'm like, all right, so I did a good job then. So great. Yeah, it was just one of those things where it caught a lot of attention in the industry, and I got a great agent because of that, and it really set forth the direction of the career I wanted to have. And then I got the right people around me that saw it and supported that, that had the acting chops and the depth to be able to perform that way, to hold a movie. And so that movie is the reason why I got cast in The Hurt Locker. Some 6, 7 years later. So it was a big milestone for me in my career. That tiny little film we shot in 13 days. It seems so remarkable to shoot a film in 13 days and for it to live 20 years later. Yeah. Can you talk a bit about what it's like to look at yourself in roles where you're young? I don't think I really have. I don't even really watch stuff I do now. I saw the Avengers because it's everywhere. Well, no, it's also because there's, especially when we do the first one, we don't know what's really going on. There's a lot of CGI in this stuff. So, you kind of want to see what they're putting together there. The Hulk's not really there, right? I don't really have arrows and stuff. So you got to figure out what it looks like. So I watched the first one. It was hysterical. Oh my God, it's so much fun. And then I think I saw maybe a half of another one. I saw Endgame. I saw the first one and then Endgame. I saw those two movies. That's about it. And Endgame was like, whew, that was a monster. That was tough to watch. I'm going to jump because I have an Endgame story for you. Okay, great. Because I hadn't watched every single Marvel film, and I watched Endgame, and I was so confused. I was like, what the hell is happening? Then I watched it with a friend of mine who explained to me what was going on as it went on. It took us 9 hours to watch it. That's because there's 22 films before that that tell the narrative of that. It's a pretty amazing sort of huge comic in itself, right? 23 films to tell a narrative. What happened to who? Also a TV show, he said. Oh, yeah. There's that too. Jeez Louise, yeah. Busy Marvel. More to come, I guess. Always more to come. Yeah. Always more to come. Before we get on to talking about your Marvel, because I know people want to talk about that, but let's talk about The Hurt Locker, because you've mentioned that a couple of times today. Catherine Bigelow, she comes to you. She's made some iconic films at that stage. What was that first meeting with her like, and what did she tell you?
I flew from London, shooting 20 weeks later, and I read the script, and I'm like, oh, this is really, really fantastic. I love it. And then I had to fly to LA for dinner, and then back to London because I was still working. So I literally just flew to LA for dinner. I'm like, this is so strange. But yeah, just to sort of kind of cement the thing. She showed me the lookbook and sort of this sort of dance, and yeah, it was beautiful. It was a quick dinner. It was just like a handshake deal, and then we knew we had the right people, and we're going to start putting this thing together, and it was really exciting. And then a year and a half goes by as I'm training in at Fort Irwin and learning how to build bombs and render them safe. And then she calls me up. She's like, "You ready?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I can build bombs. I can tear them apart." She's like, "All right, let's go to work." And then she dropped me in the Middle East, and we're in Jordan and filmed that. So she's another one of those people where, you know, I never saw her almost the entire shoot. Maybe at the end of the day, she's, you know, off hiding. She just, you know, lets me go do what I'm supposed to do, and I let her go capture it, you know. And we had a really good working rapport that way, and so a lot of trust with each other. She knew that I was very prepared and commanded the narrative and the story. I could hold that narrative for her.
You, I mean, I'm surprised anyone lets you on a plane with you knowing how to build a bomb. I'm never going to get on a plane with you. But
more importantly, I can tear them apart. That's why you like to build them.
That's more important.
That's how you can tear them apart.
Why did you feel, or did she ask you to spend so long learning the actual mechanics of the role?
It was only supposed to be like 3 months. She's the one in the production started getting me prepared, and then it took a little bit longer to get the movie together. They were still looking for the end of the Anthony Mackie part. We're still looking for that character. We have Brian Garrity already, and then so I think this took a little longer. So it took more of a year. So that I just kept continuing training with the guys, became friends with the guys on base, and then more importantly, got to be friends with them off base. So then they would come to my house, and I could just hang with them and pry into their brains and just spend time with them. You know, really, really interesting sort of leisurely way to dive into a world that was so fascinating to me. And I'm glad I had all that time.
You mentioned that she was a director who'd let you do your stuff and then come in, and you like that. What are the different kinds of directors, and how do you cope with different working methods?
I don't know. It seems to, because I know there are some that do like 95 takes. And I'm like, you got about like 5 with me. And I mean, let's move on. We got other stuff to do, man. I think it's a little sort of masturbatory, you know, to keep repeating things 100 times over. It's like, come on, we got a story to tell. Put your camera down and let's figure it out, right? So I just don't do movies that are that technical, I guess, or require that much technicality. It's already technical as it is, but we got to still live and breathe, right? We're not watching. I mean, camera moves are great, but I just haven't worked with anybody that's technical that we're not getting it done in 10 takes, then something's really wrong here. The thing's broken, right? So I don't think I would work well with a director that's asking for 100 takes.
Do you like directors who obviously communicate, but do you like an arm around the shoulder, or do you want directness?
I think if I needed something, I'd ask for it. Otherwise, I'll do what I do, and if you need something else after like 3 or 4 or 5 takes, and you're not getting it, but it's already kind of discussed anyway. You have to understand, like, we're in this together. I'm not there auditioning for the director every day. It's like we're working together on the story and the narrative, and we're figuring it out as we go, and preparing as much as we can to be good and at calling audibles and being fluid with the obstacles that are in our way. And like, okay, wait, we already did this. We have to like make sure to kind of work things out. We're putting a puzzle together, right? So, and especially like even in editing, it's like it's just puzzle pieces they're putting together in editing. We're giving them the images, so you want to give them options, you know. So I think about all those things. I think about everybody's job, like editor's job, or director's job, and how do we tell this narrative, and also those are the limitations, and then be able to explode with every color of the rainbow in every frame that we do with those limitations.
And then you get nominated for an Academy Award. How does that feel? Does it make you feel like you're at the top of the profession? Is it?
it was a weird feeling. I remember it was like, yeah, it's like you arrived or something, and it had nothing to do with like the recognition. It's sort of like it's like a pat on the back from a community of your peers, essentially, that you love, that you grew up watching their movies, and it's a almost like a welcoming into a club kind of feeling. You didn't have to claw and scratch and scream and to get attention. It's like you arrived. You was there. Like had nothing. I didn't care about getting the statue. I didn't want the statue because of you have to go give a speech. Like the last thing I want to do with my social anxiety is go up and have to give a speech to people. So, but it was a wonderful thing also to celebrate like with my mom as my date to the Academy Awards. Right, it was a really exciting thing, and then to repeat to get to do it again, you know, the very next year with my mom again for the town was, you know, it's like, all right, cool, I'm done. I'm gonna sort of mic drop and get out of here, and you know, that was, you know, I'll always remember those 2 years with my mom. It was pretty fantastic, man.
You could almost, yeah. I was going to say, because I felt like you were going to get clapped for that, you could almost be Arab taking your mum to Academy Awards.
Yeah, I love my mom. I love my family.
And you mentioned the town. That's one of the performances of yours that I most love. Can you talk a bit about that role and did you know Boston well?
Yeah. That was I've never been to Boston. It's a movie that takes place in Boston, a very, very specific small region in America. And if we didn't shoot in Boston, it would have been a terrible film, or I would have been terrible in it. The environment, as much as a character, just like in the Hurt Locker as well, the environment was a huge character. As part of the narrative, you know, right in the Iraq War and all that, right? So it's a huge character in it. So same for the town, being Boston, Charlestown. It was imperative that we shot there. We didn't use dialect coaches. I hung out with a bunch of ex-cons, guys just got out of prison, and Ben just said, "You just go hang out with these guys for a couple of weeks." I'm like, "I guess that's real safe, sure." That's I can't just get a dialogue coach instead. Seems a little safer, but it ended up working out all right.
Did you become buddies with them?
Oh yeah, I mean they're you know, glorious people. He wouldn't have put me in front of like. I mean, they're real criminals, don't be wrong, but they're like, you know.
So what you're telling us is you're a bomb maker with criminal friends.
I'm not going to make it on this flight, am I? I already got the no-fly list.
I've seen your movies, you can fly on your own. What's it like to work with a director who's also known as an actor, known for his acting work?
Yeah, it was great, man. Ben's super smart, and I mean, one of the first things I asked him as well, because he had not done it before. But what makes you think like you're a pretty decent actor? You're okay, but then you're gonna direct and act in and star in this thing? Like, what makes you think you can do that? He's like, you know what? I don't know the answer, but what I am doing is talking to every other actor that's done this before me, with Mel Gibson and Kevin Costner and and tips on like what they did to star in something that they were directing. I'm like, well, I already like this guy already. Ben's also very smart, very charming, and even with the joke of about his acting and directing, I was like, so happy to do it, and he's just really smart, and I like smart people. He's great at problem solving, and it's challenging. I like to challenge him, and we don't take it as a negative thing. It's like we're inspiring each other. Challenge is like to inspire somebody, on a set, at least in my world. So if someone challenges me or asks me to do something, like, okay, well, it's always, right, it's a dance, it's part of it. It's part of the communicative and expressive art of making a movie. And working with Ben was a wonderful dance. I always had a great time.
That's an interesting way of describing the relationship as a dance. Has there ever been any time where you felt like you've had two left feet?
Yeah, look, it takes two with anybody and everybody. To dance, right? And sometimes the narrative makes it stumble. Sometimes it's the other person. Sometimes it's the blocking of a scene that makes the narrative stumble. It's not dancing very well, but you got to be good and be fluid about overcoming the obstacles of each individual situation. But yeah, there's many times where it's just not working, or it's fine. This is why you do 5 takes, not 100. It's figured out in 5 takes, or like, we got to rewrite this scene,
And then when you go on to make like you know, they're films that we might consider big films, but then you're going on to make the Mission Impossibles, like films where they're spending tens of millions of dollars and there's so much action. Does that change you as an actor?
No, I mean, I eat better.
He has water?
Yeah. You eat a lot better. And working with Tom is so much fun. And that's much more physical type of work a lot of times. Super, you know, it's nice to be part of a franchise that's already kind of established, so you already know how it kind of turns out. You kind of already can envision what the movie already is about and what you're a part of. And so it's pretty exciting. So the path is already kind of paved for you in a lot of ways. And then, yeah, just you eat better, and you get there's still great challenges in the physicality of it. And yeah, I love it, man. That's definitely a carnival show. You feel like you're in a full-on carnival. Stunts, you're driving around doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and at the top of the Burj Khalifa, right? Like, what is going on? I'm like, what?
Did you go up? Did you go in stunts?
Yeah. We were there. Tom was picked into a couple cables on him, and he was hanging outside the building, and we're at the top of the building, and that thing's like, I don't know, it feels like a mile high in the sky, this thing. And because you look down and see the skyscrapers, it looks like little Legos. You know, that's how high this building is. And I'm hanging out, I'm just like in a suit like this with a belt on. This guy's holding a rope, and he's looking on his phone. I'm like, dude, maybe you want to pay attention. I'm hanging out the window. So I'm yelling at Tom, like, dude, I'm going to grab some part of you if I slip out of here. Because, yeah, I literally could have fallen out of that building, slipped by Tom. I made like 4 phone calls down before I slept. They go like, look, I just want to let you know, I'm not going to make it home. I'm going to call Dad next night. You know, brutal. Yeah, so. Yeah, you can't do anything to prepare for that. There's no acting class that's going to help you, right?
Do you know there is a profession called a stuntman?
Yeah, that's what I do.
Did you not want to use a stunt person in those moments?
No, it's and the narrative is storytelling, and I've always believed it anyway as well. Even like before I did all the action movies that people were aware of, like even back in the day when I did TV stuff, I was always been an athlete, and I figured I'd watch movies where you'd see where the stunt guy came in. And this is like, but I'm a lot older, so it's really bad editing, like some guy with some terrible wig. And it takes you out of the narrative. So the suspension of belief is just removed real quick, and then it kind of kills that for the audience. And I'm an audience member too, so I think it's really important, if you can do it, to do it, and also, you know, be safe and do it right. But I also like the challenges of being an athlete to perform as a stunt performer. And I'm not going to do the stuff that I can get hurt on. I'm happy to say no, but most of the time I'll do it when it's going to be used in the show. But if it's some guy's just falling on their back in the background, I'm like, yes, somebody else go do that. But if it's going to be on camera and the thing, I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And if I don't feel safe, then I don't do it. But I think it's really important for the narrative, especially because audiences are really smart today, and you don't want to cheapen the narrative by not being able to perform a stunt as the character, you know.
Amazing. And then before we move on to Hawkeye, I want to ask you. You mentioned it was great working with Tom. Like working with Tom Cruise is anything. Have you? Not necessarily with Tom, but have you ever been overawed or gone, I can't believe I'm doing a scene with this guy or this actress?
Yeah, well, I think it's like, it's always pinch myself moments all the time. Just being here, right? It's always, I find pinch myself moments. I don't get ooh gaga on celebrity. I never have, even before I was a celebrity. It was just not something that, like they didn't have cell phones and all that stuff when I was growing up. I'm just dating myself here. Jesus Christ. I'm like 175 years old, just so you know.
His makeup
but like,
awesome.
I couldn't imagine wanting to take a selfie with anybody. Like, I don't want to take a picture with anybody. Like, especially now, because that's all I do for a living, it seems, is just take photos with people. But I would never want to do a photo with somebody, right? It's just that's not interesting to me. I don't know why. So I don't get that kind of, starstruckness about somebody. But I've always been like, like, you know, the pinch me moments, like I just told you about Tom hanging off the building at Burj Khalifa, like, what are we doing? He's laughing. I'm like, what are we doing? He's like, this is our job. You know, he's like, I know, isn't it amazing? He's just laughing. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking shit myself. And, but there's just a lot of different moments in my life, you know, that I'm always, I find gratitude when you have pinch me moments. It's like sort of gratitude, like let's stop and realize, look who we are. You know, and I always do that. I always force myself to do it, even like when it's not obvious. Like I was in Old Town here, and like that was so cool. I wasn't interested in going out. I'm like, oh, I'll just stay in my room. I'll come here and be part of the festival. Great. I'm so glad I went out to Old Town last night, and it's in this cool old 125-year-old building. Back when it was all flooded, and you know, so I got Sam is here. It's got so much great information, and be a part and just feel this architecture and have dinner in this beautiful old city, you know, and that's a pinch me moment, right? That's more than working with Tom Cruise or what actor I'm working with, like that. That's one. And I got to sit at a table with really interesting people, some I knew and some I didn't. And I got to talk about the culture and like what this place was like 5 years ago, and what it is now, and where it'll be in another 5 years. And like that was so inspiring to me. And I'm like, I don't know who or how in the government really opened the doors and the borders and the idea of art and all this stuff to happen for this community. But I think it's so wonderfully smart. I think it's I think you kind of have to. You become really part of the global sort of artistry of things now, and I think it's fantastic. And I can't wait to see what happens. You know, it's really exciting to me. So like that's like a aha moment for me. Like that dinner, talking about the future of art in this community that really didn't exist before, which baffles me, but it's super exciting that it's happening now. And I don't know, I've not been anywhere where something that really kind of transformative is happening, and it's unfolding right in front of our eyes now. This festival is a part of that. It's sort of a kind of a flagship to kind of push the narrative forward for this community and then all across Saudi Arabia, you know, and I think it's super exciting, man. So there's my aha moment. That's the thing that really gets my engine going.
Amazing. Okay, before we throw open to the audience, let's talk a little bit about someone called Hawkeye.
Yes.
How did you know? When did you get the call? Did you know immediately you wanted to play a superhero character?
It was a friend of somebody. I think he's writing at Marvel or something, and he was suggesting me for Hawkeye. And somehow, some way, it was after the Hurt Locker, and I remember having a meeting, and I met with Feige, and he was kind of showing me the idea of it. I'm like, this looks great. It's great. All seems fine. And it's pretty quite vague kind of meeting, and but I like the idea of where they were going with that. It wasn't the purple tights and the thing. It wasn't quite so like, hey, I don't know, this kind of looks like a guy who looks like a clown. But you know, but I didn't know much about Marvel. In the meeting, I remember saying, because I saw Iron Man, and that was amazing. That sort of kicked off Marvel in a real way. And they were about to shoot Iron Man 2, but Thor was about to happen, or getting Thor going. I'm like, okay, I understand the Iron Man. I really liked it because you made it very plausible. Almost plausible, not so like comic book. Like it was in it, Downey was so charming, and everything was so great. Like, how are you gonna get like Fabio flying around the sky with a hammer? How are you gonna sell that? Like, how are you gonna make that real at all? Like, it's kind of laughable. Like, so, this is the jerk that I am in the meetings I have, right? So they're laughing about it. They're like, yeah. You know, that's sort of like, you know, their rub. They're very pragmatic and smart and poke fun at themselves all the time in the Marvel universe. I think you guys know at this point. But that's part of their narrative. So when we don't have an answer to it, like, let's just make fun of ourselves, and because we don't know the answer. Like, look, it is Fabio, and he's flying around with a hammer. You know, that's what it is. And it's obviously not that, but at any rate, I like where they're going with the Hawkeye look and idea. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can kind of play that. And then I remember they wanted to do the deal, and it was like a 10-year sort of deal. You know, I'm like, I don't know. I'm 50 years old. You want me to be in tights, dude? This is not a good look. I don't think anybody wants to see me at 50 in tights. So I remember that being kind of a rub. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, let alone in 10 years. Anyway, we work it all out somehow, some way, and it ends up being one of the more beautiful experiences I've had. You know, you know, with playing Clint Barton and then finding, you know, 5 of my best friends I could just spend the next 12 years of my life with is, you know, going through marriages and divorces and kids and ups and downs in our lives, and got to experience a lot with these people. And you know, the Avengers is a real thing. We all got tattoos together. And
What tattoos did you get?
It's the A6 symbol, and we all got it in different parts of our body.
I'm not going to ask for it. Thank
Yeah,
you. And you're talking about ups and downs. Before we throw it to the audience, you obviously, we all a few years ago heard the terrible news of the car accident. What's it been like to come back from that and to reconstruct yourself as your body, and to now be going back to work?
Well, yeah, it'll be 2 years in January, and I'm very, very proud to have overcome a great adversity in my life, and I'm forever grateful for all the love and support I've gotten from people all around the world, even that I never knew existed, that help propel me to get better. And it's the only thing that really kind of defines me in my life at this point. It's I don't look at it as limitations, even though I'm 25% titanium. So fuck Iron Man. But I'll tell you this, man. I'm writing a book about it right now. I've actually been here this whole trip. I've been doing the final edit on it. So it's kind of all kind of fresh in my brain, because I try to push it away a lot of times. And there's so many wonderful gifts that come from being tested to your limits of death, because I did die, and I came back. And I came back for a reason. And it had nothing to do with me. If it was my choice, I'd rather stay. But I came back, and I'm glad I'm back. But the freedoms and the gifts bestowed onto me because of the great tests of, you know, crushing 38 bones, and eye comes out, you know, the terrible things that kind of happen in a crushing injury. That's so nothing at the end of it. I can say that now coming out of it, but great blessings and to the love and support of all the people I have in my life. And there's nothing better than that, the only thing that matters in my life. So.
Okay, not that we can see anyone, but we have we have some time for some audience questions. I don't know if they can have the lights up. There we go. All right, is there a roving mic going around? God, there's so many people to choose from. It's awful. I am going to take this lady over here, just because she's right next to you.
Thank you. Hi, Jeremy. First of all, I'm really glad to see you strong and funny and good for you. I would like to know if you can tell us something about your next film. I read you're going to be Nights Out 3. So what can you tell us about it? What can you share us?
That was, we finished that. We were in London. We finished that this summer. I think it comes out, I think it's slated for like next fall. I think this is the third one. It's if you've seen any of those movies, they're all different. They have different casts, different sort of things. But Daniel Craig's sort of the central character, and this is no different. So it leads off with Daniel in it, and it's a great cast. They always have a great cast. It's you know, the great writers and directors on that. They're these murder mystery comedies that are very serious, but then, you know, ridiculous. It certainly doesn't disappoint, at least from my experience shooting it. It's a killer cast, and we had a ton of fun making it. And I think people are going to really enjoy watching this third part of the series.
Some more questions. Okay, look at this guy down here. And I'm going to go up to the sky on this one.
Hi, Jeremy. First of all, I'm so happy that I'm actually talking to you right now. This is a dream come true. I just have a question. What's your favorite moment? Like shooting the Avengers, all the Avengers, Hawkeye series. What's your favorite moment? All of these.
I mean, gosh, I have to pick one. I think it's during the first Avengers, when the whole cast got costumed up, and we were all working together on the same day. it was like a Halloween party. Everybody's trading props. I got the Thor hammer, and he's got my bow and arrow. Everybody's just trying to trade props and touching each other. Is that foam, or is that real muscle? Or we're just kind of like just geeking out on each other, in each other's costumes, and kind of laughing at it. Also, incredulously, it was very surreal. Like, oh, this is actually really happening. We're really doing this. And then it comes like Buffalo, and then he's in like some checkered pajamas because he's all CGI. So you watch from like the Hulk hands or something. That's about all you can do. But that's probably the first and most kind of maybe important memory that I can recall.
Right here. Hi.
Towards the top.
Yeah.
Let's go up. Yes.
Right
Yeah,
here.
one there. Exactly.
Hi. I'm right here.
It's hard to see.
Sorry. I think I have a question and a request. I think most people don't know that you're actually a really good singer, and I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask if you could pick one of your songs to get the same recognition as one of your movies, which song would it be?
The most wonderful time of the year?
I'm sure about that. I don't know. It's.
Or a cover that you did.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. Yeah, it's. I always find like the audience finds it. The audience still discovers whether it's a movie or a song, and whether 3 people heard the song or 3 people saw the movie. That's who should see the movie. It's not about how many people or the recognition. I don't get anything out of the recognition of something. If it made $1 trillion in the box office, or it made $200,000, or it lost money.
Yeah.
Like that's not a barometer for me. It doesn't really affect me. Maybe it's a little bit better when 3 people really like something, for sure. Like, I'd rather 3 people really like the song than 300 million people that like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
So it's a hard question for me to answer. I think the general idea is like, I think every song,
Yeah.
they're all great in my mind. If I have ones that are maybe the more personal to me, it's probably the ones I write for my daughter.
Oh,
There's 3 songs that I wrote about my daughter. So if I had to pick something, so maybe like there's a song called "Wait." I wrote that song for my daughter because it's the first words I said to her after the accident. I asked her to wait for me, and not to worry that I'd get better. If she waited for me, I promised I'd get better. And so I wrote a song about it. And so and we did a video about it and released it at the beginning of this year. And so that would be one that a lot of people are already kind of gravitating to, but
Yeah.
I guess I picked that one.
Could you sing "Happy Birthday" to my friend?
We can all do that.
I think everybody should do that.
Let's all sing "Happy Birthday."
Yeah. Where's your friend? What's your name?
She's right here.
Stand up.
What's your name?
Her name's Maria.
Maria?
Yeah.
All right, guys, Maria.